All right, we're going to continue with C.S. Lewis's The Great Divorce. And if you remember, they are on a bus and they are traveling upward through the sky after leaving Greytown. It says, "It was just then that we were interrupted. One of the quarrels which were perpetually simmering in the bus had boiled over, and for a moment there was a stampede. Knives were drawn, pistols were fired, but it all seemed strangely innocuous. And when it was over, I found myself unharmed, though in a different seat and with a new companion. He was an intelligent-looking man with a rather bulbous nose and a bowler hat, and I looked out the windows. We were now so high that all below us had become featureless, but fields, rivers, or mountains I did not see. Instead, I got the impression that the gray town still filled the whole field of vision. It seems the deuce of a town," I volunteered, "and that's what I can't understand. The parts of it that I saw were so empty. Was there once a much larger population?"
"Not at all," said my neighbor. "The trouble is that they're so quarrelsome. As soon as anyone arrives, he settles in some street. Before he's been there 24 hours, he quarrels with his neighbor. Before the week is over, he's quarreled so badly that he decides to move. And very like he finds the next street empty because all the people that have quarreled with their neighbors have moved. And so he settles in. If by any chance the street is full, he goes further. But even if he stays, it makes no odds. He's sure to have another quarrel pretty soon, and then he'll move on again. Finally, he'll move right out to the edge of the town and build a new house. You see, it's easy here. You've only got to think a house, and there it is. That's how the town keeps on growing."
"Leaving more and more empty streets?"
"That's right. And time's sort of odd here. The place where we caught the bus is thousands of miles from the civic center where all the newcomers arrive from the earth. All the people we've met were living near the bus stop, but they'd taken centuries of our time to get there by gradual removals."
"And what about the earlier arrivals? I mean, there must be people who came from Earth to your town even longer ago."
"And that's right, there are. They've been moving on and on, getting further apart. They're so far off by now that they could never think of coming to the bus stop at all. Astronomical distances. There's a bit of a rising ground near where I live, and a chap has a telescope. You can see the lights of the inhabited houses, where the old ones live, millions of miles away, millions of miles from us and from one another, even now, and then they move further still. That's one of the disappointments. I thought you'd meet interesting historical characters, but you don't. They're too far away."
"Would they get to the bus stop in time if they ever set out?"
"Well, theoretically, but it'd be a distance of light years, and they wouldn't want to be to by now. Not those old chaps like Tamberline and Genghis Khan and Julius Caesar or Henry V.
"Wouldn't want to?"
"That's right. The nearest of the old ones is Napoleon. We know that because two chaps made the journey to see him. They'd started long before I came, of course, but I was there when they came back. About 15,000 years of our time it took. We picked up out the house by now. Just a tiny pinprick of light and nothing else near it for millions of miles."
"But they got there."
"That's right. He'd built himself a huge house, all in the Empire style. Rows of windows, flaming with light, though it only shows as a pinprick from where I live."
"Did they see Napoleon?"
"That's right. They went up and looked through one of the windows. Napoleon was there all right."
"What was he doing?"
"Walking up and down and up all the time, left, right, never stopping for a moment. The two chaps watched him for about a year, and he never rested. And muttering to himself all the time, it was Salt's fault, it was Ney's fault, it was Josephine's fault, it was the fault of the Russians, it was the fault of the English, like that all the time. Never stopped for a moment. A little fat man, and he looked kind of tired, but he didn't seem able to stop."
From the vibrations, I gathered that the bus was still moving, but there was now nothing to be seen from the windows which confirmed this. Nothing but gray void above and below. And that's where we're going to end today.